Welcome, everyone, to the Backgate Podcast. I'm your host, Trent McGee, alongside my co-host, Mr. Jake Endicott. And Jake, we are wrapping up two different circuits for this episode, wrapping up the thermal circuit and wrapping up the Wellington circuit. Let's first start off with a recap of the thermal circuit as you ended on a high note over in the grass field in the National Grand Prix. Take us through your second place finishing round and U25 win on the last week 10 of thermal, Jake. How was old Chaco out there?
Well, I mean, he was pretty good. He was good. I was fine, but he was really good actually. That might be the best class he's ever jumped since we've had the horse. And he's 15 this year, so he's still in the prime. He's looking good, but it was a pretty rough class out there. It was big. Like I was lucky to have an experienced horse, I think, because it was a big class. Like only one clear, Gregory. I had two time faults. It was second, so I'm happy with it. But it was kind of an interesting class to say the least. If you were
I
watching it,
Yeah, I think you could see a common theme, especially, definitely when we look back a few weeks ago into thermal and then even now so with Wellington. I feel like the course designers are making a point to, at the end of circuit, say, all right, we're going to actually include a little even more
yeah,
real test than we have been. And I do appreciate, I think that's a transition that we've been seeing over the past few years in California, kind of making the national Grand Prix a little bit more stout than they
a
have
real
been in the
class.
past. Exactly.
Like they were slightly weak the past couple of years, but now we're building up again.
Right.
We've got good riders, good horses.
What you're seeing, I think overall we have stronger riders and stronger horses than we did a couple years ago. Now, you're in comparison to Wellington per se, yeah, there's definitely a drop off there. But I think that's also a huge step in kind of leveling that playing field over a long course of time, is setting to the standard that it should be. And so, yeah, it was a rough class for a bunch of people. You come out in second with two time faults. I think the way Chaco was jumping that day, I think that's a huge success.
Yeah, I mean, I was happy because I don't know that the results would have been different if it was me and Gregory in the jump off. To be honest, I mean, I would have gone second, but you know, still, he's pretty quick. So I was happy to be second with only having to jump one round. So yeah,
Good
and
stuff. Yeah,
I think it's nice that the California circuit ended on with some real classes. Like the 4 star was a real class, and the national was a real national class. So we're not, everybody gives us a bad rep for having small classes out here. So and then you watch Connor, who's on the West Coast all circuit, winning everything, and then he went to Wellington this week and
exactly.
won a lot.
Yep.
So you
It's
know,
nice to see. Obviously, we're used to seeing Connor win on both coasts, but it's also nice to see, I think, coming from us Californians, that even though you're looking at, okay, obviously the stronger pool is still in Wellington and will be for the foreseeable future. It's nice to see that at the top level, Gregory and Connor, who spent a lot of time here in California, the circuit, also win back east. Connor's been, the last 2 weeks in Wellington, Connor's been dominating. So it's
yeah,
nice to see that even the top level that we get to see here can win anywhere in the world, to be honest with you, against any level of riders.
yeah. I think it's encouraging for the riders. It gets a little disheartening when it's like we're just the California people and we go to the East Coast and we're not as successful. But I think it's changing, definitely.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think not even just for the Grand Prix riders, for young riders and everything. We go to young riders for the East Coast. I think it's all ramping up. I think we're making a
Well,
turn.
right. Well, I think we're starting to see the beginning of a, I don't want to, new era in the show jumping where it becomes less about, I feel like in the past it was, you're this coast or you're that coast, and you kind of stick in your lane, and whatever coast you're on, you, or whatever area of the country you're on, or even in the world, you have that kind of reputation. And a lot of the times,
Yeah,
which is unfair to a lot of people, because a lot of the times, especially for us, just being living in California, it's more due to circumstance. You know what I mean?
right.
Circumstance, finances, the whole thing. And I think you look at people at the top level that are traveling around more. I mean, we've seen some of the best riders in the world come to desert, for example, for a 4-star week or something like that.
Yeah,
Um, and I think that's kind of where the sport is heading, where obviously it needs to make sense in your own program with your owners and horses, but the entire sport's becoming more globalized. People are traveling around with their horses more than ever. There's a different horse show every week across the world. And yeah, I think there needs to be a balance there. You can't show every week, and you need
yeah,
to have that rotation of horses and horse care first. But it's becoming more like you you can be at a horse show anywhere, whether you're in California or in Wellington or
yeah.
in Europe or whatever, and you could see any of those top riders in the world at any given week. I
The
think that's
options
super
are
important.
growing. There's
Exactly.
options for everybody. Like California, we can go to Thermal, or if you have young horses, you go to Seaside.
Right.
In Florida, you have Ocala. You have two shows in Ocala to go to, and then you have Wellington. And then during the summer, there's, I mean, endless places during the summer. There's tons of places to go, and I think that just helps build everybody up without having to stick to their same little areas every year,
When you even
which is
talk
nice.
about too, like the different levels that you can bring to different horses, and then I think it's great too. Obviously, when you think about the consistent 4 and 5 star levels, you think of the circuit in Wellington, and yet we just had a very successful Nations Cup run in Ocala, where we brought in some of the best riders in the world. And from what I heard, it was a huge success. I think
Yeah,
everyone loved it out there. The ring looked fantastic, definitely top competition there. I think we got a really entertaining Nations Cup, where we finished third. But it was yeah. Obviously, you want to see us at the top of the podium, but I mean, a good podium finish nonetheless. But no, I think that speaks to I feel like every year we're getting different sort of events like that are new to the sport,
yeah,
and and I think that's super important. And it just kind of shows, kind of trailblazes and shows us the path that we're going on, going forward. And I think it's a good one for wherever you end up living in the country, or if you're outside the country at any given point. I think it's one that might become successful for a wider variety of riders and owners and horses.
yeah. Anyways, so that last week actually of Thermal, you did a little you kind of made a new career for yourself. I don't
I
know if you're
did.
making a transition or something. Could be concerning. But you did some commentating in the 4-star Grand Prix.
It's true. This is true.
Yep.
I've wanted to try commentating for a while now, not as a change in career. Hopefully, hopefully
Backup plan, maybe.
hopefully I have a riding career still in my future, in my current future, and far away as well. But no, it's something that I want to try for a bit, and I wanted to take it seriously, and I thought it would be really fun. And I got to do it in a very tough class where we mentioned it, the four
Oh
star
yeah, that was
to
brutal.
it was a brutal class, a 4-star to wrap up in thermal. And it was a challenging track, a challenging course. I think it was really sort of interesting from my perspective. Not to say I've never jumped a 4-star yet, but I think
Yeah,
it was really interesting to walk the course. I was able to talk to a lot of the riders about their thoughts on the course, and it was really interesting to see from that outside perspective, rather than formulate. Like, obviously, when you walk a course, you formulate, okay, what would I do in that scenarios? But then to also get a lot of different perspectives on the riders riding in it, and to see it play out for them. Usually, if even if you're walking a course that intently, you're probably competing in it yourself. And
yeah,
so you'll pay attention to how everyone else does, but really you should be focused on your horse and your track. Seeing that sort of different angle for it was really interesting to me. And then, yeah, I just had a good view to watch it unfold. And again, we talk about setting to standard. I mean,
yeah. That
I
was a
think,
tough class. Two
yeah, but I
clear
think it's
rounds.
I think that walking the course. I mean, people were definitely nervous, but you saw some of the tests that I think need to be in a 4-star level for that prize money.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that you would want to set a 4-star any smaller because then that just back to the California reputation of having small classes. It just kind of brings us down. But that's not, you know, it's just not really what we're looking to do anymore. So they set a real class. And once again, the experienced horses come out on top. Both those clear rounds were on very experienced horses, really good horses, rider combinations. So I mean, I think when you build a real class, it just brings the deserving combinations to the top.
Yep. Yep.
How it should
Absolutely.
be.
Exactly how it should be. Now, I want to get your thoughts. Be honest. Be brutally honest. How do you think I did in my debut? Because I also have I have a fact, a behind the scenes fact to throw out there for our audience. I don't know if a lot of people obviously probably rewatch their rounds from that class. And so if any of the riders are watching or any of the owners or fans are watching and they watch that class or listen to that track, I just want to throw something out there. But first I want to let Jake give his honest assessment of my debut.
I thought it was actually decent. I think it was probably a tough class to commentate on because nobody was jumping clear.
Was.
Couple disasters. I mean, just probably trying to be. For me, it would be tough to be like nice to everybody as of not having good rounds.
Right.
But I mean, I don't know. I think he did a pretty good job. We had some technical issues throughout
Okay,
there.
well,
I was at
about
home
that.
watching on the live stream thinking to myself, this is terrible. No offense, but I can't watch this anymore. But it wasn't your fault, so that's totally acceptable. But I think overall you did a pretty good job.
Thank you. I appreciate it. No, I was that was better assessment than I was expecting, to be honest with you. Yeah, just a disclaimer to everyone who watched. So as I was commentating, I was kind of we were probably like midway through the first part. And I would say I have I have my notes in front of me and all that stuff. And I'm
Oh, you
getting
came with notes and everything. Oh
notes. Of
man,
course, if
you
I
had
do
notes about like
something,
every rider.
I wouldn't say every writer.
Okay,
I'd say a general note list.
okay.
Um, no, but I would say so. I would say we were probably I don't know 10, 15 through, and I look out of my corner of my eye, and my phone is blowing up with text,
Probably
and I was
mostly
like,
for me.
and I was thinking, I was like, you know what? Maybe people are just singing my praises, like Trent. You're
Oh
killing it.
no.
And I'm reading some of these texts, and they're like, "Don't move the mic. Why are you moving the mic?" Archie texted me. He's like, "Stop moving the mic." I swear, guys, the mic was on a stand. I was not touching it. I had no part of the mic. We had a technical issue. The mics between me and my co-host were the feedback was going off if they were both on at the same time. So we were able to fix it. No big deal. But I just want to throw it out there. How many people thought that I was just fidgeting with the mic the entire time? Definitely was not. I would have been way too.
You were nervous playing with the mic, didn't know what to do.
I feel like I was nervous in general until I got into a little bit of a rhythm, and then so I think there's no way I would have touched the mic because I would have been too afraid to screw it up. It was already being screwed up as I went, unbeknownst to me. But yeah, I promise you that had nothing to do with me touching the mic or freaking out. Now later in the class, I was freaking out because I was like, we're not even gonna get a jump off. Um,
Yeah, the
but
first
we did.
commentating, and you didn't even get to commentate a jump off.
But I was like, man, this is going to be a really anticlimactic debut. But it actually became a really exciting class for the jump off. I mean, heartbreaking.
Oh yeah, that was bad. Actually, I forgot.
Yeah, heartbreaking. But it was no, but it was
Sad.
ended up being an exciting class. But yeah, no, I just want to throw that out there. I was like, I promise, guys, no matter what you think, I wasn't messing with that mic. Wait, couldn't have anyways. Um, no, I also think too it was a really interesting class because I think there was good horse and rider combinations that just fell victim to the course.
Yeah.
Um, and there was
I
and
mean,
then
when you
you had
look
them.
at the when you look at the start list, it was a pretty strong list.
Yeah, everyone
There were, I
came.
mean, yeah,
Everyone came to play. I also think there was obviously you had your ones that were stepping up in level.
yeah,
You had your normal, probably usual 2 to 3 star
yeah.
horses or riders um, who
Was
were
that
stepping
was
up.
that the only 4 star on thermal this year? Or was there another one?
Good question. I feel
I
like
think that
there
was the
was
only
another.
one.
I feel like there was one on the grass, but it might have been a 3 star. I have to go back and double check.
I can't remember.
Yeah. I want to say that was the second one, and I want to say the first one Connor won, but he could have won a 3-star too.
Sure, he probably did. He won most of the classes out there.
No, but it was interesting. You know, it was an interesting class to commentate, and I think it was a really good experience. To be honest with you, I totally do it again. I don't know if I'd make a career out of it, unless maybe when I retire, if I go off into the sunset, tip my hat, and
I think it would have been a lot better if I was there commentating
whoa. You know what?
personally.
If you were there commentating with me, we could have thrown in some check out the back eight
I
podcasting.
mean, it's just a free ad, basically.
We could have had a commercial break after every horse and rider.
Yeah, midway drag, just play an ad for us.
We could have
Before
played
the
our
jump
original
off, we get
music.
an ad. Yeah, we could have done. Oh my gosh, missed opportunity. It
Missed
will happen at
opportunity.
some point. For sure, it will happen.
No, we're just getting started, and opportunities like that to throw ourselves out there, they'll come. They'll come.
They should have let you do the interview actually after the class.
I know. I would have loved to have done that actually. I'd kind of get, but like go then on ground level and like be like,
Yeah,
so what were you saying? But no, I appreciate anyone who reached out to me, who was trying to help out with the audio. There was a couple people that texted me who were like, honestly, just wanted to see it all go well for me. Um, and then people reached out and said, that was fun, great job, big thank you. That was a fun experience. So I totally do it again.
keeping keeping your name out there for extra
Yeah,
work just in
exactly.
case.
Yeah, you got to keep your name out there for jobs. Anyways, thermal was not the only circuit that wrapped up. Um, Wrapping up currently, everyone probably packing up
Not
to go
quite
home.
over yet, but we're one day left.
Yeah. By the time this episode airs, it'll be
It'll be done for
it'll
sure.
be all over. Wellington, Welly World, finishing up after 12 long weeks. I took a little visit there. It was really fun. But at the time of this recording, we just witnessed the Rolex 5-star Grand Prix to wrap it all up. Exciting class.
Very exciting.
I think the course was spot on.
Good course, hard course, but I mean
Hard,
it should be for that class.
hard course. I just want to get your quick thoughts, Jake. I mean, talking about the course, I think the most impressive thing to me was that the rails came all over. I mean, even the triple bar came
Yeah,
down a handful of times.
yeah, that was impressive because usually it's one or two jumps coming down at the whole class, but I mean, I don't know. I don't think one jump came down more than 7 times probably. It was so spread out, which is impressive. That's how you know you've built a good course. If you can get 9 clears and have rails everywhere, that's I mean, I can't remember who was building. Maybe Jeremy George or something.
He
But
was. He was.
yeah, he's very
Well,
good.
yep, he definitely was. I've got
Yeah,
my notes here on that one as well.
he's very good. So that didn't surprise me, but it was a really good course. That I mean the line, the triple bar, 4 stride vertical, bending 7 was. I mean,
Just tough.
that's not easy. That's
I
mean.
think I think Meredith said on the live stream, she's like, it's. I mean, I can't. We're obviously watching the live stream, but even being there, she's like, this is a very wiggly sort of. You need to
Yeah,
control the horse's
very
shoulders.
technical.
Yep, yep, absolutely. And um, it was like you said, it was that actually brings up an interesting topic that I want to bring up. We talk about the level of technicality going up with the sport. It seems like every 5 to 10 years, it's more technical. You mean it's
Yeah,
getting
we
more
get bigger
technical?
and wider and shorten the time allowed.
Exactly. And I think an underrated thing, appreciate our course designers because that makes their job progressively harder because they
Wow.
need you it can be easy to set just difficult stuff all the way around like trappy stuff and it would be hard. I mean, it would be easy for them to throw in, serve up easy ways for people to go clear.
Yeah, I mean it's easy to make an easy class and it's easy to make a super hard class, but it's hard to make the class that you want, which is
Right.
like, depending how many you're in it, like 8 to 10 clear rounds.
Yeah,
Some people,
exactly.
some designers like a lot less than that, but personally I like to see like 8 riders in a jump off. Makes it
Right.
exciting.
And I obviously every class is different, and that's what makes show jumping.
Yeah.
But I think you talk about a good job done tonight. At the time of this recording, we watched it tonight. Um, I mean, that was an exciting jump off because that seemed like a great number. I thought the jump off was actually it's an underrated thing to actually design the jump off the way it was set. I was very professionally done. Um, and Christian Kukuk um, comes out on top.
Yeah,
He last to go, right?
yeah, last to go. Really exciting jump off. Daniel Blumen went first and put in what I thought was a really good round. I thought he might end up. I thought if he got lucky and made people go fast enough and make mistakes, he could end up with a win. But I thought for sure podium. He ended up fourth, I think. But
Yep.
they just kept getting faster. Carl did, I think, 6 strides across the middle to
I'm
that
pretty sure
vertical.
he did. Yes.
I would have to rewatch the video, but at first glance, it looked like 6 strides, which seems really far away. I don't know that
Absurd.
I don't know that I would try that.
Insane.
But yeah, they were all flying around. McLean somehow squeaked out. He got like half a second on Carl with his
Yeah.
horse bucking in the rollback. I don't know, just kind of average McLean stuff. I don't know. I don't really know how he does that, to be honest. Because that horse is big and not super fast. His track is so tidy and neat everywhere that it just doesn't matter.
So you could see, first of all, Carl with Kalinka.
That's all foot speed.
That's
He said he went a little wide everywhere because he had the foot speed. He didn't need to take the risk.
yep, yep. And then you see, so it was clear just the way the live stream was situated from 1 to 2 in the jump off back to the wall. You could see the angle of the live stream,
Yeah,
people's footprints,
yeah, all the
and
track. Yeah,
McLean was inside the entire track
yeah,
on the way to it. And not to mention, obviously, that's expert planning on McLean's part, right? Which is,
yeah.
like you said, typical McLean stuff. But it's one thing to just say, I'm going to be tighter here than everyone else. But then to execute it with a horse of that size, right?
Yeah.
That you don't know very well. I think he said he's had the horse for 7
7 weeks.
weeks.
Yeah, very
Again,
impressive. At
typical
this
McLean
point,
stuff.
I'm not surprised, but still impressive.
And then you
But
got to think, great class. Christian rode a heck of a jump off. I
yeah,
do think
what
that's
he deserved to win that.
where, exactly. And I do think that's where you do have the slight advantage of going last.
Oh, of course, there's always an advantage going last.
Yep.
If you have a good head on your shoulders, you're mentally strong. Going last is the best. Some people like to go first because then they put too much pressure on themselves that they're going last and they know what they have to do and then they make a mistake. But going last is for sure an advantage for everybody. He knew exactly what he had to do. He did everything perfectly. He went a little wide back to the wall. Didn't take the risk. He was super tight on the rollback to the Oxer. That was impressive. And then he did one more stride across the middle to the vertical and the same to the last. And I don't know, I think he just kind of rode smart. It didn't look like he was running, but he was obviously fast.
Yeah, it was I think after watching those rounds and having a general sense of McLean's super tight track with that horse of that size, I think he knew where he could be a touch wider than McLean because
Yeah.
he had more foot speed, but still very tight. And then I think especially the way he hit the last fence. Talk about
Yeah.
obviously you're watching and he makes it looks Christian made it look so smooth and you're like, wow, what a round. But that's a no joke Oxer to end on, the Rolex Oxer, and the angle he was on, and you could see the horse is super careful, but
Yeah.
if you're a little off on that, you're swimming through that Oxer. If you're just a little off.
Yeah. He definitely took a chance. You could see he was kicking. He
Yeah,
knew it
yeah,
was
yeah.
fun. But it's a good horse and he's a good rider, so I think he deserved to win that class. McLean's horse, without the bucking, I think he would have been closer, but I don't think he wouldn't have beaten.
No.
That horse spends a ton of time in the air. It's super scopy. Really good horse. Really good for like a Nations Cup and team classes for sure. And I don't know. I just think it was a really good class. Really fun to watch. It's nice when there's a big class and it's fun to watch because
Yeah.
sometimes they end up being kind of boring and there's 2 or 3 clear and it's just not like a super exciting one. So it's nice to have a fun class to watch.
It's nice, and then obviously airing on Youssef, but airing too on ESPN
Yeah.
and having
Yeah, I
that
actually watched it on ESPN.
really.
Yeah, it's nice. Nice that we can be, because I don't know. This is a long time ago, but show jumping used to be like a pretty large sport on ESPN, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
And
At a
yeah,
time, it was.
yeah. So
They
it's
used
nice
to
to
air
be,
multiple Grand Prix throughout the year on ESPN.
yeah, it's nice to be back on ESPN. Get
It's
some
nice to be
new
back,
eyes on the sport.
right? It's nice to be back, and it's nice to have. I think the U.S. has in the past had trouble sort of pitching it to our
Yeah,
non-horse
right. 'Cause
audience,
it's not as big here as it is in Europe. Europe, it's all
right?
over the place.
And I think what they did a good job tonight of is I'm going to use Formula One as an example because a lot of us riders are fans of the sport, and that's a sport that kind of reinvented itself the way it's marketed to the states.
Yeah,
They reinvented the entire game, and it's paid off. I mean, look at how many new fans that they created in the past, 7 6 7 years.
yeah. I mean, if we could just get a Netflix documentary, we'll
Yes,
be golden. Because Drive to Survive, I mean, like tripled the fans for Formula One.
absolutely.
There's
And
so many
so,
people that know they don't ever even watch Formula One, but they know everything about Drive to Survive.
right. I think what's great about Drive to Survive, and then flipping over into the actual like live coverage as people have for the Formula One season, is that Drive to Survive gives you that background information and gives you that insight into the personal experience that these
Yeah,
drivers and teams
people
go
like
through.
that. So they wanna see what is really going on behind the scenes.
Right. People
So I
want
think,
that.
yeah,
And then I think
it's
it's the
interesting.
exactly, it's super interesting. I think it's a perfect marriage then that once you have that background knowledge and that familiarity, you can then jump into and then you just jump into the deep end of the
Yeah,
live coverage and talking about all the tire compounds and the strategies and the different tracks. And then because you're already invested, you want to sit there and figure it out.
yeah. Because then once you just know everything, it becomes fun to actually watch a race. Because if you know nothing about Formula One, watching a whole race is not fun. Like it's boring. Just watching cars drive around on a circuit for like an hour and a half.
Yeah,
If you know nothing about it, it's not fun. So being able to watch Drive to Survive, which they make it super entertaining and you're learning and it's interesting, then to go watch a race and you know everything, it makes it more watchable for somebody who hasn't been invested in it their whole life.
exactly. And I think so. Going back to the Rolex Grand Prix, I think the coverage tonight was better in the sense that they had the background information on the horses and the riders, and
Yeah,
they gave you that insight, and they also had the interviews. It felt like it was actually trying to give us some background information into this is what this horse has been doing coming in, this is what this rider has been doing in. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It really just it kind of gave that information to the audience because you never know who when you air it on ESPN, you want to pitch it to your horse fans, of course, but you also never know who's watching, and
yeah.
so it having someone like Meredith take you through the different parts of the course, having those
Yeah, somebody who
recaps,
really knows what they're talking about. It's good to have a
exactly,
top writer like that because the commentators that just commentate, they know a good amount because they watch everything and they're always talking about it. But having a real writer that knows what's going on and all the behind the scenes is, I think, is really important for a class like that.
absolutely, I completely agree. I think it makes it more interesting for the audience, and I think it becomes much more educational.
Yeah,
Um, and like I said, when you have it on something like ESPN, the goal shouldn't just be, wow, we're show jumping fans already. We're in the sport. Me and you are professionals, or other people who just are in the
yeah,
industry, trainers, grooms, the whole thing, owners. Of course, we're gonna watch regardless.
yeah. Right. I mean,
On
we're
any
yeah,
streaming platform, we're gonna watch. And so, yes, we think it's very cool that it's on ESPN. I think it's a great step forward,
yeah,
but it's not on ESPN. It shouldn't be on ESPN just for us. It should be on ESPN because someone is scrolling through the guide and
yeah.
sees equestrian show jumping and is curious.
And they have no idea what that even is,
Exactly.
and then they
And
click
so
on it, and then hopefully they love it.
mhm, you got to be ready to go for
Yeah,
that type of
that's
audience.
the goal of these things. I
Yep.
think. I mean, hopefully that's the
We'd
goal. I
hope.
mean, who knows? But they actually, did you see they had a Formula One car in the corner of the ring?
I did. I did. That was really cool.
I was
That's
wondering
it.
if that was like a team sponsoring or if that was probably them, like the Miami Grand Prix doing some marketing.
You know what? Honestly, I didn't actually find out. And I'm going to investigate that further because they cut to that at one point, and my brother
Yeah.
was nearby, and I showed him. I thought it was really cool. Um, Either way, it's genius because, I
Because
mean,
honestly, in my opinion, these Formula One and show jumping are so similar.
they go hand in
They're
hand.
very similar. Like, I don't know, I just feel like they're the most like relatable. If you're gonna pick a sport to relate to show jumping, I would go to Formula One straight away, every time. They're just
Absolutely,
similar in the way that they I don't know, that they operate, the kind of vibe of like the old kind of wealthy money. It's like an old money sport, you know?
for sure,
That's
for
just kind
sure.
of the vibe I get. And I think they kind of go hand in hand. I think it's nice that they have like a I don't want to like I don't want to say merger, but they're like together in this class.
Yep, yep. They're becoming more together, and I think it's you know what Formula One does so well is more these days that we discussed it earlier is the way that they market themselves now. They market
Yeah,
their drivers and they market the team personalities, and so obviously you have different fans of different teams and different drivers, but everyone kind of play has this role because everyone knows what each
yeah,
person, each team is about, and things change. Obviously, they're ever changing, but you have these hero villain roles, you have these lovable characters, you have these more controversial ones. It's all part of it's all part of the sport, right?
yeah. I think the global tour is like that is the closest to Formula One that we have
Hmm.
because traveling to all the exotic destinations and the team aspect and having two riders jumping on the team at once. I mean, I think that's the closest we get to Formula One to being like sports are the same. So I think we're closer. We're getting closer.
We're getting closer, and I think we have, I think we all, I don't want to say forget, but we have a huge advantage in our sport where we have the fascinating sort of X factor of dealing with horses, live,
Yeah,
living animals. And so it's so interesting the idea of yeah, of course you should we should find more creative ways to market our riders and our teams, but market the horses. I mean, they're all
yeah,
different, you know? You think about how, just to pick on those two horses because they're probably the best horses in the world right now. But let's take a King Edward and let's take a United Touch.
I was just thinking those two horses when you
Yeah.
said that.
And you think about they're on the top right in the world
Yeah,
and how different the two of them are, their personalities, the way they go, just the visual. Anyone who doesn't follow sport can look at those two horses and look at them in the ring and say they're completely different,
yeah, and
and yet those are the two best horses in our sport right now.
I think they're almost trying to do that in a way because I've seen a lot, like just scrolling through Instagram, I see a lot of posts that are like just about United Touch lately. Like nobody even cares about Richie Bogle. He's like just some average guy.
He's the
United
afterthought.
Touch is doing all the work up there. And it's nice to see that they're paying attention to the horses because I feel like in the past it's been more driven to the riders.
Right.
So and also I saw like on USEF has been doing stuff like uh like ratings and win
Yep.
percentage for the class tonight. They've been doing that for a couple classes. I think that just gets people like interested in that aspect of the sport, which
Yeah,
is it's just good marketing. It's not even like they're trying to trying to market anything. It just is almost happening naturally just by putting out more information.
yeah, absolutely. And that brings up another interesting topic, the marketing aspect of horses and stuff. But then when you bring in that marketing and you bring in a wider audience, naturally, as you said, things will start to happen like stats, right? Which
Yeah.
is something that if you look historically in our sport, we've been, in my opinion, been sorely lacking.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things in our sport. Like you look at sports like football and soccer and basketball, everything's based around stats. What's a player's stats? We don't ever really look at what's a rider, a horse, what are their stats for the year. But I think we're now starting to get into that. I see a lot of stuff about what's like a horse's clear round percentage at different heights. So I think slowly we're getting there, but we have a lot to do to fully get to the top.
Absolutely. And I think it's not, people talk about it. I think sometimes like it's a foreign concept. And it's really not, because if you talk to, I'm going to use him as an example because I've heard him mentioned in multiple interviews and he's kind of just the poster child for it. But McLean, you've heard him talk about clear round percentage and
Yeah,
his own win percentage and career and earnings a year. He talks about that consistently. So that he's following his own stats, and
yeah,
understandably so, because he's McLean Ward and everything is detailed and everything is planned. And so that he's already been doing this for how long? I mean, it's all it is now taking what riders, the best riders in the world, already focus on or already are aware of, and bringing it to the mass audience. And I think that's become so
yeah,
important to then relating the mass audience of show jumping and hopefully growing it back to the rider and the horse in the ring. I think that's how our sport's going to grow and kind of go
yeah,
into this next era.
yeah. I mean, all those top riders already pay attention to that stuff. I mean, if they've got all their stats locked in, it just can't be that difficult for to get it out there in the media somehow. Just to make just more I think just the more details we bring to the rest of the world, the better. Because I
Yep,
think there's a lot of people that it's like a mysterious sport, like they're not really sure what it's all about. So I think we need to inform more people. I think.
I agree,
Yeah,
100%. Speaking about, we already touched on it, Formula One.
yeah.
To wrap things up, we just wanted to take a quick little break outside of show jumping because we always talk show jumping, and let's get into some Formula One news and action and happenings going
Very,
on.
very exciting last race in
Very excited
Australia.
for
For
you.
me
I mean,
personally, I
mhm.
was just ecstatic. I don't know why don't we give your feelings about the race first?
First of all, I might not be a Ferrari fan like Jake is, but I was thrilled to see Carlos up on the podium where he belongs. It was a fantastic race win after, I mean, a pretty wild week before that for him.
Yeah,
Getting his appendix removed.
yeah. It was like 2 days before the Bahrain race, which is what that's like 9 days before the Australian race, and then to
Yeah,
go win the Australian race. I mean, that's impressive. Because the appendix, removing your appendix is a pretty serious surgery.
for sure. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
not like a simple surgery. So to recover that quickly and to race in Australia, it's so hot and so hard on on the driver. I mean,
on the physically, like it's
yeah, physically,
draining. Yeah,
so impressive. But yeah. So Ferrari won too, obviously. Carlos won, Charles second. At this
who
point, I don't
and
care the order, even though Charles is my favorite driver. Was Lando was third?
who rounded out? Yeah, I was about to say who rounded out the
Yeah,
podium
Lando.
too.
Yeah, well, I'm not that interested. He's all right. Lando. He can keep getting those
Lando,
podiums. I don't think he'll ever win a race.
it's coming this season. I predicted it this season is race win, first race win.
All right, well, gloss right over that. Max's car,
We'll get
Max's
back to
car
it.
broke. Love to see that. Exciting. I think Carlos would have won the race anyways. He had already passed him, so whatever. I wasn't just another thing to make me happy about.
Look, I just want to also inform. I mean, unless people don't know, but I'm sure a lot of our listeners follow Formula One. The Ferrari fan over here is thrilled for Carlos to be up on the top. The Ferrari fans also are the ones. Carlos is jobless next year. He's I mean, yes, he's fighting for the team, but he's also fighting for his future without
Yes,
Ferrari.
we did not renew Carlos's contract for next year.
And who did you sign? Who did you sign?
We signed Lewis Hamilton, good old washed up, sponsored by Tide, washed Lewis Hamilton.
Whoa.
Yeah, disappointing actually. I don't not thrilled about it. I'm not a big fan of Lewis Hamilton. Actually, you know what? When he was fighting Max, I was always a Lewis fan because I hate Max. but
Wow.
I'm not a big Lewis Hamilton fan.
Right.
So I'm still hoping that somehow we can just forget about the contract with Lewis and re-sign Carlos. But if not, it's looking pretty good for Carlos next year.
I
To
mean,
be
that
honest,
was.
I didn't think he had a shot at getting like a Red Bull seat, but after how this year is going, it's looking pretty good.
I'm telling you. I think I've always been a big Carlos fan. I think I don't know. I feel like he's got to be the one of the at least one of the front runners. And then after
For
a
sure.
race win like that, I don't know. I think if I'm running Red Bull, I think he's already got a history with them, right?
Yeah.
Familiar territory back from his origins. I don't know. I think it's a no-brainer.
And
Checo's not cutting it
and
these
Danny Rick
days.
is Checo's done. I mean, come on, that guy should have been done years ago. And Danny Rick is not looking good. That
No,
was my pick to replace Checo in the first place, but he's not
it's
looking good.
it seemed like that's what they were trying to angle at,
I think that's what
even
they
even for
wanted,
last
but
year. Yeah.
I don't think that they can do it at this point. It's not. He's not performing. I mean, he's in a terrible car, but Yuki's out driving him, so that's a bad sign.
Yep.
Because
Yep.
Yuki's for sure also out of Formula One. I mean, once Ford replaces Honda, he's out right away.
Yeah, probably. But it's
Who else? Who
no
else is
another.
jobless? Somebody else is jobless.
Uh,
Oh no, Max is leaving Red Bull.
you're buying that. You're drinking that Kool Aid. You're buying the hype.
Max to Mercedes.
Max the Mercedes. You
Yeah,
know,
I'd love to see it.
I do. I do. I mean, just knowing Max. My brother, by the way, is like the biggest Max fan on the planet.
I've
And
heard.
I personally think he's very, very similar to Max in a lot of characteristics and qualities. But anyways, just a fun level tidbit. But it would be such a Max thing to do, especially with his rivalry with Lewis, to just see
I
like,
would start
oh,
to like Max if he
couldn't
went to
cut it at
Mercedes.
Mercedes anymore.
I would.
You
I
would.
would think I would be. I'm not a Max fan, but I wouldn't hate him just because it's like respect that decision to leave the best team
I would.
to go to Mercedes, who's struggling right now. I think it would be pretty respectable.
It would be. I just think you would. Obviously, you've got to love the domination, but I just like from his perspective. But I think it would be a very Max like thing to just be like, Lewis couldn't cut at Mercedes anymore. Let me give it a try. Like I could see him just using that logic.
Yeah, because honestly, I've seen a lot of interviews and like him when he does like live streams and seen clips of it. Like, it doesn't seem like he really cares that much, and it honestly feels like he wants to like go do other racing stuff, like do rally driving. Like, I don't think he's really that invested in being a Formula One driver for the rest of his life. So it
Well,
wouldn't surprise me if he did made a drastic change.
he's got those like past interview receipts where he's like, I don't need to do this forever.
Yeah,
And then I don't know if was it before the first race this season? He was like streaming the night before or
yeah,
something,
he's
or
always doing that. He's
it
always
was like
playing
during
video
one of the
games,
races. He was
live
like,
streaming the night before
yeah,
races.
I was like, it was like out like when you think about it, it wasn't like it was like hours before the race, and the dude just live streaming. I mean,
Doesn't
obvious
care.
and this dude's a cutthroat competitor at his peak, and he's obviously still is. But I feel like, I mean, and obviously, I'm sure he was upset with being DNF last race. But the post
Yeah.
race interview, he was kind of like, yeah. I
He didn't
mean,
seem that mad about it.
he didn't seem
He's
that broken up about it.
Yeah, I think he's pretty confident that he's just going to bounce back and win,
He
which is
probably
probably
will.
going to happen. Oh, I hope not, but I'm sure it will.
Maybe
Probably be another
Carlos
boring
will.
season.
Maybe Carlos will find they'll find something, another
If
medical
Carlos
procedure to get done for
if
Carlos, and he'll
Carlos
come back.
somehow wins the drivers championship, I don't even know what I would do.
It's the
I
most
think I would
Ferrari
probably
thing.
lose my mind. I
It
would
would
be
be
pumped because Ferrari hasn't had a driver win the championship in a while, but also be pretty pissed because he's not going to be driving for us next year.
if you thought the Ferrari memes on those Formula One pages were getting too much. If that happened, I would be the most Ferrari thing to happen possible.
I
Like
do
you,
actually. I think Charles is second in the drivers' championship right now,
I think he
so
is too.
it did help him out a little bit that Carlos missed an entire race.
Mm-hmm.
So you never know.
You never know.
What a
And
cheat.
waiting in the wings, I'm telling you, with such a
Oh,
strong
stop.
drivers lineup, we're looking good. McLaren,
Piastri wins a championship before Lando.
no, absolutely not. No. I just want. I'm a McLaren fan. I'm a McLaren loyalist. I want to see Piastri dominated. I want to see him to do well. But Lando's the number one driver. I mean,
He is. He is. I mean, he gets team orders all the time, so he's just, they're basically handing him positions. Oscar's usually ahead of him. But, whatever. We don't see that with Charles. He just passes Carlos, usually.
wow,
Hasn't
bold
happened.
take.
Hasn't
I
happened in
was
a
gonna
long
say
time,
hasn't happened this season yet.
but I do
All
actually like that they're letting them race. Like, they're not
I'm
telling
a
them to
fan of
stop
that.
fighting. I like it.
I'm a fan of that. All I'm saying though is, from where we were, you have to admit, from where we were, say 2 or 3 years ago,
What about the start of last year? Didn't you guys were like
brutal,
last in the first 3 races?
brutal. It was so tough to see, and then
I don't know what happened. You guys must have
sometime mid-season, it
cheated
was
somehow. Built a whole
we
new
a
car.
couple things. We got some new improvements. We redesigned parts of the car, and we're finishing up our new wind tunnel, or we already did maybe, or we are finishing up at headquarters for testing. It's a new dawn over at McLaren, and it's looking good. And dude, our drivers lineup, if we retain both of them, Lando just re-signed a new contract this offseason. We're set. We're set.
Yeah, you guys will be some of the best mid drivers in the lineup. It'll be
No,
great.
world
You guys
class.
can consistently be third or fourth in the constructors every year, and Ferrari will be. I honestly think Ferrari might win the constructors this year. Actually,
I think Ferrari is. I see into your future being stuck with a 50-year-old Lewis Hamilton trying to
yeah, Lewis trying
ride
to win his eighth world championship
riding out
in
the
20
rest of his
years.
contract. Uh-huh.
Yeah, or maybe
Yep.
we'll sign Fernando Alonso when he's 75 or something.
You guys are going. Ferrari goes for experience here.
Yeah, we like our experience. That was our problem. We went for two young guys. It hasn't gone well.
Experience over everything.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was a pretty fun episode 3. Got to recap some big classes, some commentating debuts, some Jake success, some Rolex Grand Prix, and a little bit of Formula One as well. What do you think, Jake?
I think it was a pretty exciting couple of weeks that we just went over. I think I don't know. Only 3 episodes in. So far so good. Had some good feedback. I think people enjoy it. Who knows, they could be lying to me. Wouldn't be surprised.
We'll
Yeah.
take their positive feedback though. I don't
Yeah,
know.
we'll take it.
We'll take it.
I'm not
We'll
gonna
take
turn it away.
it. All right, that was a fun episode 3. Wrapping up. Thank you again to all of our listeners. Thank you to our producer, Miss Mia Jones, for all of her hard work. Thank you to my co-host, Mr. Jake Endicott. Original music is by Colby Garvin. And as always, we'll see you next time at the Back Gate. Thank you, everyone. See ya.